Hi, welcome to Just Be with Janae, the show that encourages you to lead with curiosity and question everything. I'm your host, Janae, and each week we'll dive into topics that many shy away from. If any of this interests you, make sure to give a follow so you don't miss when I drop a new episode. So get comfy while we get curious. All right, what are we tapping into today? First of all, honeys, I poured up me a glass of Riesling. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've been on my Riesling vibe these days, and I'm trying. There was this one brand that I really like. I think it had a dragon on it. So dragon something, I don't know. But this time I got, what is that called? Oh, Barefoot Riesling. And I didn't mean to get the sweet one. I didn't think it would be, it's not as sweet as Moscato, and that's what I was hoping for, that it wouldn't be. But it's still fairly sweet. So we're just gonna have to finish this because of course Barefoot has those huge bottles, and I'm like, well, it makes sense for me to get this one for like $10 or $12 when the other one was like, I don't know, possibly almost 10. So now I just have to finish this wine and we'll figure it out next go round. Okay. So get your choice of drink, whatever that is. Okay. Whether it's a glass of wine, tea, matcha, y'all know I'm a matcha girly if you follow me on socials. But get your choice of drink and let's begin. What are we talking about today? So, what I wish I would have known before I graduated. So, I have my master's degree. It's been 1 year since I graduated with my master's degree in marriage and family therapy. And there are just some things that were not mentioned in grad school. And not only me, but me and a few other my colleagues have discussed this plenty of times. And we've said, I wish I would have known what this would have looked like post graduation. Because, baby, I was not prepared. Literally not prepared. So, okay. Right now, as you know, I'm 1 year post graduation. I'm considered a pre-licensed marriage and family therapist. What does it mean to be pre-licensed? That just means that I do not hold my license just yet in the field. Does not mean I cannot practice because I currently am practicing in the field, but and this varies by state, which is a whole other headache because depending on the state that you live in, the laws and regulations will be different. So I currently reside in Pennsylvania, which means I have to go off of those specific requirements. Okay. I kind of want to start off by by reading you guys the requirements because I have it pulled up actually, and I think it's important that we know what those requirements are. So, in order for me to get my license, what needs to happen? Okay. So, the Pennsylvania licensure requirements is a master's degree or a doctoral degree, one examination, experience requirement varies based on degree, 3 hours of continuing education, $100 initial fee, and then there's a $95 renewal fee. Okay. So it says degree requirement. So you have to have the master's degree or doctoral degree um, in marriage and family therapy or related field from an accredited educational institution. So it's important to know that the institution that you currently go to is accredited. I had got accepted into, what school was it? Um, Dang, Seton Hall. I got accepted into Seton Hall previously, and they had just lost their accreditation or something. And I was like, oh, baby, no, we're not even going to take the risk. So I ended up going to LaSalle because obviously they were accredited. Okay, so that's important to know. Examination. So the candidate must pass the National Marriage and Family Therapy Examination administered by the Association of Marital and Family Therapy Regulatory Boards. So, yes, we have to take an exam, which most fields you do have to take an exam to be, um, to go to get licensed or get to the next whatever. Um, but in order for me to even take the exam, so they actually just changed this because I believe I can take the exam, but I still cannot obtain that license until completing the required hours and all of that stuff. But when I was in school, when I had first started, you couldn't even take the exam post master's degree. You had to wait to until you achieved all of the requirements. So that's new. Um, I have not taken the exam yet for my own personal reasons, which maybe we'll get into later. But anywho's, what are those requirements? What is the experience needed? So the experience requirement varies based on degree. So if you have your master's degree or you are working towards obtaining your master's degree, when you after you graduate, you'll need 3,000 hours of supervised clinical experience. Here's where they get ya. Completed in no less than 2 years and no more than 6 years. And again, to reiterate, this needs to be done after you graduate. So I worked in private practice during my master's degree, and all of those hours that I was working there and obtained supervision, that does not count towards me being licensed because they hate us. I don't know. Okay. So again, you cannot complete this with no less than 2 years. So even if you are in a rigorous work environment and you're, obtaining your hours, you're getting your supervision, you still have to wait 2 years, babes. They just they hate us. Again, I don't know. I don't know. Okay. So if you're obtaining your doctoral degree, you'll need 2,400 hours of supervised clinical experience completed, of which 1,200 hours was obtained after granting of the doctoral degree. Those, wow. Wow. So the master's, wow. I would, you know what? This is ridiculous. Mind you, I've always had access to this, but when you're in grad school, your head is just scrambled. Okay, honey. So even though I've read this a million times, it's still like new information going back to it. Okay, so if you're obtaining your doctoral degree, lucky for you, after you graduate, you only need 1,200 hours. Yay. All right, continuing education. What does that mean? So it says 3 hours for initial licensure. Okay. Applicants must complete 3 hours of board approved continuing education in child abuse recognition and reporting for initial licensure. All right. 30 hours for each biennial renewal period. I don't know what that means, but I believe that's yearly. Now I gotta look it up because I can't be just saying it and not knowing what's going on. Okay, taking place every other year, so not yearly, every other year. Okay, which I suppose that's good. You don't have to pay $100 every year. So the initial licensing fee is $100, and then the renewal, so every other year, you're paying $95. Okay. Um, to take there, I believe there's a fee for the exam, but for some reason it's not on here. I remember looking at something and it said be expected to pay around $300 for the entire process, which insane, just absolutely insane. Um, because what the hell? Okay, so anyways, those are the requirements, everything you need to know before venturing out, okay? So those are the things that we had discussed in grad school. Again, I was well aware of many of the things I read, even though my head was scrambled. I had a clear understanding of those requirements, okay? Now, baby, here's what I didn't know. Okay, when you're pre-licensed, number one, it can be challenging to find work because a lot of people want you to be licensed. A lot of organizations, they want you to be licensed. So, as I said, those things I was well aware of. But here are the things that I did not know. Okay. So, as stated previously, a lot of jobs want you to already be licensed because if you are licensed, they can submit to insurance. So, since I'm pre-licensed, they're like jumping through hoops to figure that out. Um, at this time, I'm not fully aware of what that looks like, what that means. Um, a lot of people who make those decisions, they're the owner of practices, they're the agency. So I don't have that information, nor do I desire to have that information at this time. Um, but anyways, again, it's easier for you to be licensed. Hmm. So that's one thing. Finding work might be a little challenging. Finding work might be a little challenging due to people already wanting you to be licensed. Okay. And again, that can't happen any quicker than 2 years. So, 2 years, you just have to have that understanding that it might be a little bit more challenging. Okay. So, since you are pre licensed, of course, you're not making what the big dogs are making, right? You got to work your way up, which is fine. We are all aware of that. So there are two, well, I had in my head, I give myself two options. It's like, okay, you could do continue in community mental health, or you can, venture out into private practice, which at the time throughout grad school, I'm like, I want to own my own practice, which maybe in the future could still be a possibility. At this time, they didn't teach me how to run a business. So don't don't know how that goes, right? Really wish I had that information. Um, I wish it was incorporated into the curriculum in a means of this is how you build a private practice from start to finish was not included in my education. I don't know if there are other programs or schooling that they do include it. If so, that is a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. If not, I would encourage you, if your, long-term goal is to have your own practice, meet with people, join Facebook groups, ask your professors, get that knowledge while you can about how to build your private practice if that is a long-term goal. Of course, there's a lot of in between, and that is more of like a long-term thing. But that would be my suggestion to anyone interested in the field. Okay. So again, I was thinking private practice or it was community mental health. Now, at the end of my degree, I was in internship. I was working full time at a partial hospitalization program. I was doing coursework, course load. I don't know. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. And it was a lot. And I was burnt out. When I tell y'all, oh, baby, I've not experienced burnout like that. I don't think ever. Do not recommend. Do not recommend. I remember telling my supervisor, I looked at her one day and I said, I have nothing to give. And she saw it. It was clear as day. I'm like, nothing. And she's like, you can't pour out if you have nothing to pour. And it was so bad that I couldn't even fill my own cup. Like I was that exhausted that I couldn't even pour back into myself. So at that point I was like, community mental health, I can't do it. It's too intense. I will literally lose myself in my mind if I continue down this path. Okay. So that was the mindset, because when I had started that internship, first week, had my caseload of 16 clients. For some people, you don't know what's going to happen in session. The site that I was at, no one was in the room with me. It was me and the client. Whether it was a family, I had a 3-year-old on my caseload at the time. I'm like, what am I going to do in session with a 3-year-old? Honey, I was stressed. Okay. And there were so many different things, with my site, that it was just very overwhelming. And I just felt, I felt that, wow, like this work is tough. Do I have the bandwidth to do this long term? There was a lot of thoughts like that, because it was just that overwhelming. And I chose to go into private practice after I graduated. I had worked in private practice before, so I was aware that private practice is way more lax. You're not micromanaged. The whole vibe, energy is different. Even the clientele is different in private practice, because it's not as high risk, right? In community mental health, you don't know if it's going to be high risk client, and more times than not, if you have a client on your caseload and you think that this isn't a good fit, or I just don't have the capabilities to work with this specific client, I was expected to still meet with them, and just kind of figure things out with my supervisor. And that was terrifying. It was terrifying, because what the hell? What? Uh so I actually would say that I built resentment for my site. Now, that was internship, the internship version of being at my site. I now have the privilege to be part-time there, and it's a whole different experience, I tell you that. I also, of course, have a lot more experience under my belt, so I'm not as, overwhelmed with my cases. I know what I can handle and I know what I can't handle. So those boundaries, those clinical boundaries, are so important in this field. Um, and again, in the beginning, you don't have much of an option depending on what site you're at, but hopefully you're able to tailor that to your specific needs. That's something that I appreciated with private practice. Private practice, if you no longer want to work with a client for whatever reason, you don't have to. You can give them a referral, refer them out. It's actually encouraged to refer someone out if you don't have that experience, or if you don't think it's a good fit. It's important just as much, just as important. What? It is just as important for the clinician to feel that it's a good fit, as important it is for the client. There we go. There we go. Okay. So the thing is, with private practice, there's so many pros, and also there's cons, just like anything else. So you have to go through the process of building your caseload. Now, I underestimated that process. I said, you know what? We got this. I quit my full-time job, honey. Do not, at least if you choose to do that, make sure you've saved up a whole lot of money, because building a caseload could look like you have 3 clients on your caseload for 3 months, or it could look like you have 10 one month, then 5 the next, then 2 the next. It's sporadic. Or you might be lucky and your caseload is full within a month. Who knows? It all varies, and it depends on what month, the season. because there's so many fluctuations in this field, no matter if you are community mental health or private practice. But excuse me, in the summertime, it slows down. Okay, during the holiday season, I experienced decrease. Okay, so people are overwhelmed. They're doing a lot. They're spending a lot. I just, I we went down. We went. Sorry, not have the hiccups. This is getting chaotic. Okay, so there's a lot of fluctuations that you should be prepared for. So that's what I mean. Make sure you're saving, make sure you're planning for those times when there's dips, because you don't know after it dips, when are we going to get high? Like, when are we going to go up again? Okay. You don't know. As I said, you cannot get licensed no quicker than 2 years. So whether you're in community mental health or private practice, no matter how much you're working, either way, you can't do it quicker than 2 years. So let's say you chose community mental health, you're getting your hours, your supervision, everything, boom, you're surpassed your hours. How about that? You still have to wait the 2 years to take the exam. Okay. Now, in my situation with private practice, since it fluctuated so much and I had, times where I had a bunch of people in my caseload, then not a lot, I was not obtaining my hours as quickly as I would have in community mental health. Okay. So that's why I said there's pros and cons everywhere. Now, it's almost like, it's almost choosing burnout or choosing flexibility. But figuring out what works for you will be up to you. Depends on, if you have additional support, do you live alone? Do you have the means to sustain yourself if you chose to go into private practice? Or do you have what it takes to be in community mental health? It can be very draining. The burnout is very high. Um, Also, another really important piece of this, whether community mental health or private practice, and I'm gonna get it. Hold on, I'm gonna get up for this one. Sit up for this one. I need you guys to understand it's that real and it's that this important, because I'm 27, which means I'm over the age of receiving mommy's benefits. There are no benefits. I'm gonna say that again. There are no benefits. God forbid you get sick. What happens? Where do you go? Do you have the means to make sure you're good? Do you have a chronic illness? I know these aren't things that we're thinking when we're wanting to help people. I went into this field. Oh, I want to help people with, I have a big heart. Was I necessarily thinking about this? Was I told this? No. So I'm at the point where I still have the desire to be in this field and to help others, right? And also, I am taking a loss physically, mentally, and emotionally, because I'm also human. I go through things. I couldn't even get therapy through insurance because I don't have any. It's just important for people to know that it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's beautiful that we get to do this work. I think it's important, it's rich. And unfortunately, this field does not support therapists in the way that you would like them to. In the medical field, let's just say that. In the medical field, they're treated like, what word am I looking for? I was going to say upper. Okay, think Gossip Girl, Upper East Side. That's how they treat people in the medical field. Now, hold on. I let me fix that, because nurses, I know what nurses go through, and it ain't pretty. when I say this, I mean financially, okay? Now, again, I'm speaking from a pre-licensed lens. I've not obtained my license yet, which means I could be speaking very different things after I get my license. Because once you get your license, you're able to be paneled. You're able to, be hired at these larger corporations if that's what you want to do. You're able to open up your own private practice. You're able to do so much more. Okay? You're making more money. So there's more flexibility. There's a lot more options for you. So again, this is just me giving you all a warning about that 2 years that you have to go through even before you get there. Okay. And I don't want to take away from any other field, whether you are a doctor, a nurse, because we all work hard and we all are very much so deserving of benefits of, being paid what we are worth, no matter what field you're in. I don't care what you do. You could be a janitor for all I care, but I want to make sure you're getting paid what you think you should be getting paid and making sure that you can take care of yourself and you have benefits, whatever that means. If you need to take a sick day, you could take a sick day. If I get sick, honey, I'm just not making money. I literally am not making money. And I just cannot stress it enough that this needs to be talked about and people need to be made aware because things need to change. That was a lot. That was a lot. I want to end this by saying I love what I do. I love being able to show up in a space where not a lot of people get to show up in. And I believe that I'm quite privileged to be in this space as a practicing therapist. And just as any field, sometimes the systems just need some tweaking. And it'll allow for the clinicians, for, the people doing the groundwork to be able to show up a little bit better if the systems are doing what they need to be doing. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. So I know that was a lot, y'all. I know that was a lot. And y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what time it is. All right. If you were hearing this, that means you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, I want to thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends or leave a review wherever you are listening. To stay updated with this podcast, you can follow me on Instagram at Just Be with John A. And if there are specific topics you want me to cover in future episodes, please let me know. Thank you again for listening, and I hope to see you back here again. Bye.